Again, good morning, good afternoon, not sure where you're at. My name is Cynthia Pereda, and I am the Grant Director for the National Applied AI Consortium. I have the absolute honor to bring with me AWS and Code Signal, which we're very excited. This is an excellent opportunity, and it only goes to show that partnerships like this is what allows Nike to be able to bring opportunities to community college faculty, which will then in turn bring them to our students nationwide and continue to grow that AI community. So with that, I don't want to delay any further. I will pass it on to Tekla, who is from AWS.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, and thank you all for joining today. My name is Tekla Moquin, and I am the Skills to Jobs lead for the Americas, Asia Pacific, and Australia at Amazon Web Services. For today's session, we'll provide an overview of the Skills to Jobs Tech Alliance and our skilling pathways. We will then hear from our partner Code Signal, and finally provide you with next steps on how to become engaged with the Tech Alliance in our resources if you are so interested. And with that, I will get started. Currently operating in 13 countries, the AWS Skills to Jobs Tech Alliance works across employers, higher education, governments, and collaborating organizations to address the skills gap and prepare learners for in-demand tech jobs at AWS customers and partners. We do so by, one, modernizing higher education programs to align with industry demand, and two, connecting learners with employers who want to hire them. We connect learners with industry through a series of applied learning activities that allow learners to demonstrate and further refine their skills learned in the classroom through hands-on experimentation and real-time application building. Since our launch in June of 2023, the AWS Skills to Jobs Tech Alliance has reached over 300,000 learners across 1,200 higher education providers and connected nearly 48,000 learners with 650 employers across the globe. I will now pass the mic to my colleague Jay, who will share more about our skilling pathways. Thanks all.
Thanks, Tekla. Hey, everyone, my name is Jay. I'm the global lead for Skilling Pathways here on Skills to Jobs team. And Skilling Pathways are things that we've developed, toolkits really, to enable modernization of various programs in in-demand topics like software engineering and cybersecurity, and for today's purposes, Gen AI. So there's a couple of personas and associated use cases that use these tools and have used these tools all over the world. Faculty leadership. I've seen deans and vice chancellors kind of, enable their faculty to take these toolkits and really take a hard, honest look at their programs to see where, there may be areas for change or topics to incorporate or even deprioritize. I've seen faculty use these resources to upskill themselves, to access content to inspire coursework and projects and particular classes. And we've worked with students as part of, what you'll hear more about in a moment, to build in-demand skills provided by these solutions. So kind of going further, next slide, please. There's a few different components to each of these skilling pathways. And it starts with insights, right? So when we are looking into a topic area that we want to develop these materials for, we need to build a point of view on what we should be providing resources for, what we think should be taught in various programs. So we speak with hiring managers and teams from all around the world in positions of hiring managers and above to really learn about what they're seeing in their business, in their team, and the skills that they want to see from entry-level talent. And we take all those insights and put together a report that kind of codifies that information and makes it really easy to digest and understand. All right, here are some places that I could modify my programs against based on what hiring managers are saying. And there's no cost for that report or those insights. The second thing we do is we put together events. And these are gamified, fun, remote events to engage learners, typically on a specific set of topics or competencies. And some examples from the spring, for example, we ran a Skills to Jobs Developer Challenge with our wonderful friends at Code Signal, where we invited anybody who can code to attempt a 70-minute challenge, get scored on their work, and then line up prizes for different regions. So there were some really cool stories that came out of there from the US, from places like Colombia, Brazil, and APJ. And no cost to students or faculty who participate in those events. And finally, there's content. So what we try to do, again, there's a report to help tell you what you should be teaching competency wise. There's things for students, and then finally, there's content to teach with. And so we really take pride in the fact that we've been able to put together no cost licenses to our partners and their content resources. There are limits to those licenses, and you'll hear more about what that means in context of today's call later from Amy from Code Signal. But the no cost kind of limited offerings are really fantastic. And we spent a lot of time making sure that it's covering the right stuff and it's meaningful enough in terms of what you get so that it is exciting and you can get impact from it for yourselves and for your students. So that's a bit about skilling pathways. In terms of where we go from here, next slide, please. I'd love to turn it over to my friends at Amy at Code Signal to tell you a bit about who they are, what they do, and how awesome their mission and solution is. So, Amy, over to you.
Thanks so much, Jay. Wow, what an introduction. And I'm so happy to be here. My name's Amy Shackelford. I am Director of Educational Partnerships at Code Signal. And we are thrilled to be partnering with AWS Skills to Job Tech Alliance on this. But before I jump in here, I just want to say a thank you to you all, the esteemed faculty of Nike, and to our hosts at Miami-Dade College, Cynthia and Antonio. Thank you so much for allowing us to have this time to speak to you all. Some of you may be familiar with Code Signal already based on what Jay was just sharing around the challenge activities this spring. Code Signal was the platform that some of your students used as part of that activity. And those students who did participate actually received 4 months free working in Code Signal. And I'm so happy to say that what we've seen is so many of those students continuing to use Code Signal, some of them logging over 100 days now in the platform of actually learning and developing their skills. So we've just been thrilled with the work that students have been doing. But for those of you who don't know us and do not know Cosmo, our Space Corgi, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about us. And a little bit more about, like, as Jay was talking about, our new content pathway that you'll get access to. So you can go to the next slide, Craig. So for almost a decade now, Code Signal has been serving employers as being one of the top hiring skills assessment and tech interview platforms on the market. We work with large tech, finance, and other high growth employers nationwide and around the globe. In fact, our assessments are used so prolifically that more than 80% of software engineering grads will take a Code Signal assessment when they enter the job market. We aren't just assessment, however. Code Signal has built out an entire experiential learning platform called Code Signal Learn to help learners develop the skills they need to take those assessments and land those jobs. And because of this, what better way to help people prepare for this competitive job market than by partnering with higher ed institutions like those of you, the faculty here from community colleges, to share this goal along with us. And you can go to the next slide, Craig. Great, thank you. So Code Signal Learn, this experiential learning platform, is leveraging this decade-long amount of data around employer assessment and hiring data to create verified skills assessments and certifications. We do this in our platform with hands-on real-world work simulations from coding IDE to conversational role plays that really are based all on mastery. So giving students the ability to go in to practice these skills until they master them. And this is all done with the help of Cosmo, who you saw earlier, which is our one-to-one AI tutor. So what Cosmo is able to do is to offer personalized feedback to every learner throughout their skills journey. It's available 24/7 and it's there anytime students feel stuck and to offer them a personalized learning pathway based on their goals. You can go to the next slide, Craig. So today we're excited to announce a no-cost CodeSignal AWS Gen AI learning pathway. So this is something, actually, the first pathway will launch later today. And Jay will talk to you a little bit more after this about how to get registered for this. But just so you know, what's involved in this are three fundamental areas. And as I said, the first one is available today, so you won't even have to wait until August. But the first pathway is in prompting for everyone with AWS Bedrock models. The second is enterprise machine learning. And the third is in building Gen AI apps. So you can move to the next slide, Craig. Key features of these learning pathways include the hands-on practice, as I mentioned to you earlier, and with 69 micro learning exercises. That's just a general, that some have more than even 69. And that 24/7 AI teaching assistant Cosmo, who will support learners in over 20 languages. These are interactive exercises that give students immediate feedback, and there are no prerequisites required for this first learning pathway. And all learners upon completion will receive that certificate of achievement. So you can go to the next slide. So let's take a look. I am going to show you an example of one of our pathways in prompt engineering for everyone. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, how's that? Does everybody see my screen? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. So once here, what you'll see on the screen is not just the introduction to the pathway itself, but exactly how many courses are included in this pathway, the number of practices, and the amount of time it should take you to complete. You'll also see the verified skills you will gain as you do this pathway, as well as the tools that you will use. And then, of course, that you're able to share the certificate of achievement once you've completed it. As you scroll down, you will see each of the courses contained in the pathway itself, and you can see the same thing, how many lessons are included and practices for each of those courses. I point this out because, especially as in faculty and instructors, if this is something that you were to utilize with your students in a classroom setting, this is perfect for embedding as an assignment or things like that. So let's go ahead. Let's start this pathway just so you can see how it operates. So once I go in right away, you can see I'm in an integrated environment. You get introduced to Cosmo first thing. So Cosmo is here to ask, you can ask Cosmo any questions throughout this entire process and is there to make the whole pathway a little bit easier. Again, this is not assessment. This is really about skills, practice, and mastery. So this lesson itself begins, and you can see you can also choose to view this as a video lesson that will be auditory as well, just depending on your preferred learning style. I'm just going to go through as text for now so that you can see me walk through it. It's a pretty brief introduction here and lesson. The idea really being to get students to practicing right away. And you'll see these pop up along the way. This is a very gamified process so that students are really compelled to continue moving forward. So as I start the process itself, Cosmo comes back, right, to tell me what this first practice is about. So what they'll give you instruction. Again, you can ask questions. I'm just going to ask a question just so we can see how Cosmo responds. Like, why is this important? And Cosmo will respond to me right away. So it's going to tell me exactly, why do I need to do this? What's important about it? This part is meant to be very easy to begin with. Again, there are no prerequisites to this type of pathway, so anyone can start it anytime. You do not have to have any background in coding or anything else. Great. So once I run it and submit, Cosmo gives me feedback. And then when I click next to continue, you'll see the same thing pop up again. So each time the learner goes in, it's going to get a little bit more complex with each one. But the idea is that this is all stacking on top of each other. And again, Cosmo's here at any time to answer your questions along the way. So that's a very brief overview of the platform itself. Since you're all faculty, I also did want to show you an example of kind of the analytics that you get. on your students as they are using this. So you can see here, you see all the skills that are being developed, what your students are taking. You can see it by the pathways that they're in, and you can see it based on usage. So you'll get the actual reporting for all your students who are using this content, how many hours they spent in it, how many courses are completed, and how many practices they've completed. And in fact, each one you can drill down. I'm going to go back to paths for a moment and see by student what they completed and how far along they've gone. So you can imagine, again, if you wanted to use this in a classroom setting, you could actually go in and see what the students have done and give them credit for that work as an assignment. So that's just a very brief overview of the platform itself to help you once you get into this free course that you'll have access to with AWS. Hopefully it'll make more sense. So Jay, I'll let you talk about how to gain access to this. But again, thank you everybody for the time, and really don't hesitate to reach out to me at Code Signal with questions or anything else you may be interested in after today.
Thanks so much, Amy. And now the moment you've all been waiting for is, how do you get access to this great content? Well, I'm going to drop a link in the chat here, which is a survey that we use to facilitate access to all of our skilling pathways. So you'll see a bit of language in here about some other topic areas. What's important when you fill out this survey is that you provide the access and information we need. There's a disclaimer at the top. You'll notice in questions 5 and 6, which skilling pathway would you like access to? Gen AI is the one you want to click on. That's this offering that we're talking about here. The next question that's important is 6, which asks about receiving regular updates about the skilling pathways, because that gives me permission to follow up with you today and in weeks to come once the full pathway is available for distribution. So Amy had mentioned it's available today. It is on the CodeSignal platform, but to access it through this engagement, there is a couple weeks that we ask you to be patient with us while we sort out the official access instructions and some of the administrative things we have to do on our end. So step 1, click on the link in the chat, fill out the form, pay special attention to 5 and 6. And then what I'm going to do later today is I'm going to email everybody who requests access with confirmation that I've seen it. And then in about 2 weeks, by August 1st, I'm going to email you with more information about access instructions. If you want to access the other topics, go for it. That's what they're here for. They do look a little bit different, and cyber is kind of in a similar space where we are in the final stages of putting some packaging around it and making sure we dot all our I's and cross all our T's, but you are welcome to request access to the others as well. So again, not only this week, but this day, I will be in touch to confirm receipt. The other thing that'll happen soon after is you will hear from my colleague, Craig. Craig, give everybody a wave. There he is. And Craig is going to be in touch with the calendar of fall 25 student events. So Jason and some others that asked questions about how does this compare to game day? You know, what students' events look like. Craig can answer all those questions. We have an awesome calendar of events we put together every semester to enable learning, to enable skills, and just have some fun and bring you something that you could bring to your students. So I'll be in touch today. Craig will be in touch soon after. And then within 2 weeks, we'll be in touch with official instructions on how to access this great no-cost offering that'll be available to you and for you to share with your students as part of the 2025-2026 school year. And if you have any questions, shoot me an email. I'm very responsive. I hope others would share that feedback, but I'm pretty quick to get back to you and not afraid to answer any questions via email. So I'll drop it in the chat here, and I will turn it back over to Tekla, I think.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So thank you so much, Jay and Amy. I want to be sure that we're getting to any questions that are in the chat. So let's just go through here. Stephanie, you did respond. So Jay, you responded to the game day question. Stephanie, you responded to accessibility. Let's see, is this free for students, faculty members? Yes, it is. Is there integration with LMS such as Canvas? We'll work with institutions directly. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I asked the question about access to other pathways. Is there a deadline or limit to this no-cost access? I imagine many of us will need to confer with colleagues and determine a cohesive go-forward plan. Jay, how would you respond to that?
Yeah, we talked about this in context of the 2025-2026 school year. So in essence, as soon as it becomes available in the coming weeks through the end of the 2026 school year, we will communicate exactly what dates those are. But you can imagine fall semester, spring semester. That's the availability term that we've put in place.
Thanks, Jay. This is a good question. Is there a training curriculum for AWS AI practitioner exam? So how would this ready students for that?
Yeah, really good question. So we see this offering as a little bit different than the AI practitioner exam. There's a bunch of different tools and resources on AWS Skill Builder for no cost. If your students are interested in pursuing certification, I would encourage them to go on to Skill Builder. The test is it's a little bit different in scope than what this course covers. So this course, again, prompt engineering in a general sense, right? And then using those core AWS tools, Amazon Bedrock, Amazon SageMaker, and Q. The certification course is a bit more broad and features quite a few more AWS tools. So if certification is important to you in your program, I would advise you to go over to Skill Builder. AWS Academy has some great resources too, in context of certification, but Skill Builder is really the place. If certification is important for you and your students, that's the place for certification prep.
Speaking of Academy, this is another great question. Is there any integration or touch point between Skills to Jobs and other AWS offerings? So maybe you could talk about that in regards to the AI pathway, Jay, but then also the other pathways.
Yeah, I mean, we actually just kind of hit on it with respect to Gen AI, right? So for certification, Skill Builder, AWS Academy has a lot of AWS tooling specific content. In context of the other pathways, a lot of it comes back to the insights and the reports that we build. So for any topic, again, we need to kind of build a point of view on what we want to be teaching. And we would get really granular in terms of the competencies and the kind of Bloom's taxonomy of each competency, right? So some things are just awareness, some things are more application based and more complex. And so for each competency, we really try to look across our catalog, partners internally at AWS, and what's the best thing that could teach that topic. So for software engineering, for example, there's a bunch of things that we recommend from CodeSignal. There's other things that we'll point to on AWS Academy. So it kind of depends on the competency. And because we know that not every faculty member owns the entirety of their program, we try to make it as modular as possible because you may be only prepping for one course. And it is a lot easier and more practical to kind of take a one course, 2, 3, 4 competency approach.
Thanks, Jay. Next question from John. Do you see this as a replacement to products like Zybooks or to augment textbooks already being used?
I think anything we build, and this goes back to the work that we've been doing in the Tech Alliance for years now, it's hard to replace parts of a program. And what we really try to do is give you things to augment. For example, events, those are things you can refer your students to on a night that makes sense for them, right? On a day that makes sense for them that doesn't interfere with their course schedule. CodeSignal is a platform that we really like because of how dynamic it is, how kind of gamified and reinforcement learning type it can be. And because of all the multi-language support it can provide. So I see this as things that, could replace things, but I think more realistically, these are tools to augment all the great work that you already do and all the great things that are already in place.
Thanks, Jay. How do you know if your university or organization is an AWS customer? If you are unsure, you could ask your chief information officer, your chief technology officer at your institution, or you could email Jay at the email address he provided, and we could look it up really quickly and let you know. Yeah. So either way works.
And I think there's an option that says not sure. So even if you click not sure on my end, once I process the request, I go in and double check and make sure we have, the right agreements on file.
Oh, great. Okay. Thanks, Jay. Free for how long? Is this just a testing phase? Oh, Stephanie, you already responded to this. Full academic year. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Antonio. Added in about perfect. National Applied AI Consortium offers training for AI practitioner. Excellent. Let's see here. I'm going through. What is the pricing plan beyond? Stephanie, you responded to that. Are there course contents? Are these course contents updated often? Jay, do you want to take that?
I think it'd be great to hear from Code Signal team about their
Sure.
general approach to course maintenance and updating.
Yes, I'm happy to take that. Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Durand. I lead partnerships at Code Signal, and it's a pleasure to be here today. And thank you for all the questions. Always great to get so much interaction. In terms of keeping the content updated, we have a large content team that is continuously monitoring how tools and technologies evolve and making sure that we can really keep up. And we really leverage a lot of also AI to, update, the offering. And so I will say we're pretty fast. I think our AWS friends could attest to that. And whenever something may need an update, our team will immediately do it. So it's not a matter of months or weeks, but days. And if you do see something that we don't see, please share, because we always also want our learners' feedback. I hope that answers the question. Tekla, back to you.
Yes, no, thank you so much. Any other questions from the group? And please feel free to come on camera and unmute yourself if you have some questions. Okay, for pacing, how much content is included in the Gen AI pathway? Could this comprise an entire 16-week semester?
I would say no to an entire semester. I think that comes from Timothy. Again, I think that this would be more to augment that time. I think because each one, as I pointed out, each pathway, the three pathways right, within the larger Gen AI offering, comprises around like 15 to 20 hours of work. So as you think about that and compare that to your own 16-week semester, you can think potentially about how that might fit in.
Thanks so much, Amy. So for this question, I'm familiar with AWS Skill Builder, and because the beginner is trying to learn AI concepts, the modules are highly focused on learning AWS products. It's a lot to absorb and decipher. Is there a different way to learn? So you could also check out AWS Educate. I will put a link in the chat. That is very, very foundational learning. And I will also point you to Amazon's AI Ready initiative that includes not only those foundational courses from AWS Educate, but also Skill Builder. So I'll put that in the link, or in the chat rather. Any other questions? All right. And I'm pulling up this.
And please feel free to come off mute if you would like to ask a question and don't want to write it in the chat.
Let's see. So I've just put in here free AI skill training courses. But again, those are those one-off courses through Educate and Skill Builder. Alrighty, so as Jay shared, please fill out that Pulse link. And Cynthia, are you able to, send a note to folks who attended kind of with that Pulse link as well?
Yes, so if you could, I'll go ahead. I do have the link, so I'll go ahead or actually, why don't you send me over any information that you'd like me to share with everyone, and I will go ahead and send it to everyone as a group. Also, as a reminder, I have recorded this session, so we will be posting it as well on our website. So if you ever want to come back to it, feel free to go ahead and take a look at it there as well.
Thanks so much. One more question. May have missed this. There's a cost after the first year. Stephanie, Amy?
So right now, the plan is to provide this at no cost for the 2025-2026 academic year. If there is a desire to pursue, we can definitely have a conversation. We haven't, really planned for the following year. It could, we are definitely, open to having a very accessible way of offering this. But typically we would limit it to a year. But again, it's a early, initiative for us, and our goal is really to make this as accessible as possible to, really all of you. I would say I would recommend if there's interest to go beyond that academic year, just engage with us, and we can figure out the best option.
Excellent. And the recording, Cynthia, that'll go out this week.
Yes, so I was actually just jotting it down on the chat. So it typically takes me about a week to be able to post it onto the website. So if you go in there tomorrow, unfortunately, it won't be there. It needs to give me some time to be able to process and upload it onto there. So by the end of the week, I would hope to have it there. And I'm going to add the link to our site as well, just in case you don't have it and you're able to go in there.
And another question, when we request access, does our organization get access, or is it on an individual basis? That's a great question. Individual. Are these courses customizable? Did we answer that question? Are these courses customizable by instructors?
I can answer that. So I guess I want to dig in there about a little bit more about customizable. I would say the way that you see them presented fully as a pathway is not, and I think yes, but how you use it potentially in your own instance is. So happy to kind of take that question offline too if you want to dig into it a little more. But if you want to use it within your course, you can kind of link to it as assignments or however you'd like. So it's a little bit of both.
Any other questions? These are all fantastic questions. Thank you for them. And just to confirm, this is the first group of faculty who are hearing about this skilling pathway in the US, right? So, we're thrilled to be working with the National Applied AI Consortium, learning about this from Antonio Delgado. We knew that this was the perfect match to launch this pathway. So thank you to Antonio and Cynthia, Miami-Dade, and of course CodeSignal. Any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Jay. He responds really quickly. And fill out that pulse form if you have any issues. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Any last questions, any other comments from the team at AWS or CodeSignal?
So I'm just a participant. I just want to say thank you. I don't have any questions, but thanks for the invite and appreciate it. It looks great.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So again, reminder, I will be sending out the link to everyone who attends and be on the lookout for the recording.
Thanks all.
Thank you. And yep, a lot of thank yous. So
thank you very much. Have a good
this
day.
was great dialogue and feedback. So always appreciated.
Thank you all.
Everyone.
Wow.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.